On behalf of the GoShareMO committee, I'd like to welcome you to now our third GoShareMO Connect webinar. So we're thankful that you're here. We've got a school district that we're ready to highlight, but just a little bit about GoShareMO if you're not familiar with that organization. A group of educators across the state several years ago came together and said, you know, there's lots of great technology out there. We're specifically Apple schools, and we're wondering, like, how are you transforming teaching and learning in your district? And so our steering committee came together and we plan a free symposium every summer for teachers. And that's really just an opportunity for us to get together, collaborate, share best practices, brainstorm new ideas, and really just have a fun time collaborating there. And then now this is our first year for these GoShareMO Connect webinars. And our goal and our vision with these webinars is just to really make district to district connections and share resources and strategies throughout the school year, so it becomes more than just a once a summer symposium, but that learning continues to grow throughout the school year. And so today with us, we have one of our steering committee school districts, Knox County R1 School District up in Edina, Missouri. And we have Alex Van Delft and Becky Barnhill here, and they're going to share with us a little bit about their teacher onboarding process and how they support new teachers in their district. So Alex and Becky, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm Alex Van Delft. I'm the 6 through 12 principal at Knox County R1. This is my 7th year in administration. I was been an elementary principal for 2 years before my 5 years I spent in my current role as middle school and high school principal.
And I am Becky Barnhill. I am the Innovation Learning Specialist at Knox County R1 School District. This is my 15th year here at the school. I was in the classroom for the first 10 years, and now part of my job is to train new teachers on tech implementation into their classroom.
A little bit about our school district. We are the smallest school on the GoShareMO steering committee. We do have 500 students pre-K through 12. We are 61% free and reduced. We're in our 11th year of our iPad initiative, starting with iPad carts 11 years ago, and now all of our students now have iPads. Our teachers have iPads and MacBooks, and all of our administrators have MacBook Pros and Mac and iPad Pros as well. Sorry. We've been Apple Distinguished since 2017. We're currently working on our next certification. What we're speaking on today is our new teacher onboarding process. Several years ago, this became something that was very important to us because of two reasons. One, retention rates, and two, uncertified teachers and applications, the issues that we were having. We are small and we are rural, and we've seen this issue for a long time, having uncertified staff members applying for jobs and really trying to figure out what exactly we can do to try to fix this issue. I think rural Missouri and rural schools have seen this issue a little bit before. Some of the larger schools have started to deal with this more recently, but it's something that we've had to deal with since even before COVID. But when COVID happened, we really saw an acceleration with some of these issues, especially with retention rates and uncertified staff openings. And the uncertified staff applicants trying to fill those positions. For 4 years in a row, we had the same teaching position open, and always filling that with an uncertified staff member. The focus for us was trying to think about how can we try to support teachers better, to keep them, to develop them into better teachers, even though they are uncertified, and then two, how to make them feel more supported so they're able to want to stay around our school district and and then they're able to better support our students.
So in this process, Mr. Van Delft and I kind of looked at how we were going to help the new teachers kind of in their journey and becoming teachers at Knox County. So we developed this 3-year process. We kept all first-year teachers in our district together, and we created a first-year cohort. And then there's a second-year cohort. And then the third year, it's more individualized professional development for each teacher. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to go over some of the topics that we talk about during each year. And then we have a couple teachers here who have went through the process, and they're going to give their feedback. So you guys can hear what they've learned throughout the process. So for our first year teachers, the overall goal is for them to just become familiar with the iPad and learn those iPad skills and learn more about the SAMR model. So all of our first year teachers get half a day PD from starting in September all the way to April. And we just sit down and we go through all of the Apple apps that we have. You can see all of them on the screen that we go over. But mainly it's just how they use those apps. And they're kind of put in the shoes of a student. So I am the teacher, they are the student. And we go through how to use Keynote, how to use GarageBand, how to use the new Freeform app. Always coming back to that SAMR model, so they can see as a teacher why they are using technology in their classroom. It should be impacting education. That's our overall goal. But as new teachers, they are not going to use the device unless they're familiar with it. So we kind of get them prepared for that. We do lesson reflection. So they do use the apps in their classrooms, and then we come back together as a cohort and we talk about the success of the lesson or what they're going to fix for next year. So having that group starting off is just makes them more comfortable to try new things and reach out for support. For second year teachers, again, we're looking at teachers who have already went through that first year process. Second year teachers, we focus more on Apple's 5 elements of learning. Again, they have half a day PD starting in September all the way to April. And we focus on an element per month. So all of those elements, if you don't know what those are: teamwork, real world engagement, personalization of learning, critical thinking, and communication and creation. So I try to develop lessons that go along with their content areas, and then they can use those lessons in their classroom, or they can modify them to for it to work better for their content. But again, they are the student, and they're able to see how Apple's 5 elements of learning really do elevate their lessons and help students think outside of the box. And with that, also, we also reflect on those lessons. So we talk about the lessons that they've taught as a cohort. And again, they learn from each other, learning what works, what doesn't work, and how they can make it better. So that's what they do for second year. And then the third year, so our third year teachers who have went through this process, after the second year is completed, it's more individualized. So there's a couple things that we are hoping that our teachers are doing. They're starting to collaborate with, if they're a high school teacher, they're going to start collaborating with elementary teachers, just kind of getting that mindset of working as a team. We do offer half-day PDs for any teachers who would like to sit down with me to kind of work through some lessons. And then a lot of our teachers, if they want to, they join our Vanguard team, which is a lead team of teachers throughout our district that kind of leads the school in the iPad initiative. And because of all those skills that they've gathered the first 2 years, they're ready to jump in on that team and be part of the team. So as third year, it's more individualized, but giving them that mindset of how to use the iPad and how to push, be more innovative, kind of sets them up for teaching at our school.
We have 2 teachers today, Cheyenne Schrag and Kelly Hutchman. Cheyenne Schrag comes to us. She came from an alternative, untraditional background in becoming a teacher, and she was able to participate in our building level trainings that were before Becky's individualized tech trainings that basically were put in place to provide more support for new teachers, especially those who did not have the traditional background. So Cheyenne Schrag is currently our second year middle school science teacher, and she's going to be able to speak to that experience. And we also have Kelly Hutchman, who's in her third year as our FACS teacher here at Knox County R1 and is in her 10th year as an educator. So we have 2 different backgrounds, but both have gone through the training with Becky.
I'm Kelly Hutchman. I'm going to kind of kick us off here. I, like Alex said, have taught for 10 years in public education. This is year 3 at Knox County for me. I did 7 years at one other school district. They were one-to-one with Chromebooks, but Chromebooks are a totally different world. It's kind of funny, when I was interviewed here for this job, I told Alex basically that I hated technology and I didn't want anything to do with the iPad. that was going to be my biggest obstacle working here. And that was the one thing I was really nervous about when I started. And then I found out that we would be doing the 2 years of training with Becky. We had a summer training also with her to kind of just introduce us to it. And that, even just that first day, really kind of eased my mind because, you know, it wasn't, there was no pressure to be great with the iPad, I felt like. It was just this, here's this tool, and this is how we think that you can use it to make you a better teacher and to help your students more. Now that I have done all of that, I realized not too long ago that I do hardly any paper pencil work anymore. Everything we do is on the iPad or on a MacBook. And it has really just changed my outlook on teaching, definitely changed my outlook on technology and how it can be a useful tool in my classroom. When we started those meetings, I really didn't realize how much we would be doing. I'd not seen the SAMR model before. That first day, every day we had those meetings, I was excited to go because I knew I would be getting a new tool that I could use in my classroom. So, excuse me. Learning the SAMR model, learning all of those elements of learning, and then being given time to actually create something for myself. I think that was the biggest change for me. I'd been to tech trainings before at my previous school, and it was always kind of like feeding you information and then sending you back with no time to really implement that information or to integrate it into a lesson that you are doing. So it was nice to be a student in Becky's classroom, learning that new tech, and then to have time to work on one of your lessons and integrate it into one of your classes. I should also say I teach 6 different preps, so that was always really daunting for me also. I kind of felt like I would spend all this time creating this one lesson and then I would use it one time a year. Whereas, you know, the math teacher could use it 4 times a day, 4 times a year. I just felt like it was a waste of my time. But putting the SAMR model into it and then learning the elements of learning and making it more real and making it more valuable was a huge game changer for me, for sure. I loved the homework piece because it kept me accountable. It was also like she comes in and checks in my classroom and it's like, when are you doing this lesson that you told me about? Which is nice because it's someone that cares about what I'm doing. Lets me know that she's not keeping an eye on me, but that she really just is interested in what we're doing and excited about anything new that we get to do in my classroom. Sorry, I'm looking. I also, the 3rd year, so I'm a 3rd year person now, and we're doing the collaborative projects, which is something that I really, really enjoy. I'm a 1-person department, so I don't get to work with other teachers on a daily basis. I don't have a team to work with. So that's been huge for me. And we've done some really amazing collaborative projects. This year alone, I think we've done 4 with elementary students. And that's another big change. The last district I work at, elementary, was in a separate building and they were about a mile away. So we didn't get to do those kinds of things. And that's wonderful here. It's also a great way for me to get to promote my program to the little kids. This is something cool you can do when you're in high school. As far as trainings transforming my teaching and growing innovative lessons for my students, those trainings gave me a starting point, learning the new app each month, learning the SAMR model each month, getting to implement that into my lessons, and then changing just throughout the year. I felt like, yes, I was just doing one lesson for one class, but when I would go to work on a lesson for another class, I would remember, oh, hey, that was really cool. I could maybe change, you know, even just substitution, change and use this app instead of using paper and pencil, or moving up the SAMR model. It just made it so much less daunting for me to have that in my back pocket. Yeah, I think, okay, so with Vanguard, the neatest thing joining Vanguard team is that even though I've only done this for 3 years now, I sort of feel like an expert. I'm not by any means, but when we do Vanguard presentations, we have PD one Monday a month, and there's always Vanguard time. So what we've been doing this year, last year and the year before, they would teach us new apps, do different things. This year we've focused on elements of learning. So we have gone through each month, Vanguard has presented on a new element of learning. And it's been really fun because we get to show the things that we've done in our classrooms, but then we get to sit with, we kind of create teams. So like mine's the CTE team. and help those other CTE teachers figure out a way to take a lesson they've used or create a new lesson, kind of get to step into Becky's shoes for a little bit and help somebody else after she's helped us so much.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So my thoughts into technology after being hired at Knox County was maybe a little bit different from Kelly's. So I was fortunate enough to actually graduate from Knox County in 2017. And that was, of course, after our school had already gone one-to-one. So I got to experience the iPad carts and the individual, like everybody has an iPad working on it sort of thing. So coming in, I was very technology positive. I was familiar with using it in education because, of course, I was in the world of technology as I went through college as well. But as for teaching, A, that was new because I had an alternative background, and B, like trying to learn how to teach and use the iPad at the same time was kind of scary at the beginning. Because it was just kind of a whole new world that I hadn't really been in before. What I did learn quickly, though, is that implementing the iPad allowed so many cool opportunities for students and so many cool projects and new ways of learning rather than just doing notes and following along and that kind of stuff. A little bit on my background, since I am coming from an alternative background. So I finished college and went into the workforce, and then later came and applied at Knox County and gained my certification then. During that first year, we would meet with our building administrators in the morning before we went to tech training with Mrs. Barnhill. And it was really helpful because we were able to not only like ask questions about like, what do I do whenever this happens? But we were able to be educated in different teaching strategies, which was helpful to me because I didn't go to teacher school. So I didn't really know what to look forward to or what to expect. But one of the most beneficial parts is we got to talk through challenging situations. So it was kind of like that teacher prep where it's like, hey, this might happen or this probably will happen. You just don't know when it's going to. And we were able to just kind of talk through the different strategies to deal with that, which made the first year teaching so much less scary because it's kind of, we talked through it. I had administrators who like, we did meet every single month and talk one-on-one. So like, I wasn't scared to go and ask questions or anything like that because the whole onboarding process was just so open and we were able to build relationships quickly. Let's see. The trainings themselves for the tech integration have been super helpful because like Kelly said, we not only learned how to use the iPad or how to use the apps, but we were able to learn what the SAMR model was, which I had never heard of before. And once you kind of learn it, you understand how you can actually use the iPad in the classroom and how, yes, you can start at substitution, but there's so many more things that you can do after that. And as for like learning the Apple apps that first year, that was really helpful because yes, I used the iPad as a student, but there were still so many features that it could do that you have no idea until you're actually told and learn how to use those. And then this year with the 5 elements of learning, that's kind of, I feel like last year was beneficial, but this year is even more beneficial because you can actually see how you can tie the apps and using it to teaching your content. And it's not just an extra thing, but it's a tool that you actually use during your teaching. Let's see. My favorite part of the training, I have to say it's like the check-in reflection afterwards, because after we learn it, like Kelly said, like we're kind of being held accountable. Like Ms. Barnhill comes and checks in with us, helps us to implement whatever lesson we maybe created during that time. And so the kids are really able to experience so much more with the lesson because I got the half-day PD to actually take time to learn about the tools and create things for the students to use, create projects. That's what I used a lot of my time with the trainings to do, is just to create the projects that I can then push to the students for them to do and change in their own ways. One of the lessons that I think was my most favorite from this year that I actually completely did a 180 with compared to my first year was during our force and motion unit, because I do teach middle school science. We do science seminars, and I teach them how to write scientific arguments. And so that's a lot of honestly paper pencil. We use the iPads for simulations and to kind of gather our evidence, and then a lot of kids like to just write it down. But instead of just doing paper pencil writing and all of that, we changed it into a numbers document so that it's a week-long project where the kids go in, they were able to do teamwork and each work on things. They had individual parts and collaborative parts throughout the whole thing. And at the end, instead of just having a written scientific argument, they actually made a flip-a-clip and then voiced over. So they made a flip-a-clip of a crash scene in a movie, and then they voiced over and explained the physics behind how to actually make crash scenes in movies. What I found with that is the kids were so much more engaged. They leave not just bored out of their mind from writing a scientific argument, but they made this whole project and didn't even realize that they were doing a scientific argument while doing the project. So it was really cool to kind of see them connect with that. Again, it was the same content that I was teaching before, but using the technology allowed the kids to be so much more engaged and creative in the process. Next year, as I move into my third year, my focus, I think, is kind of going to be about the same as this year. I want to implement more projects like the one I just described and kind of change stuff up. I really am excited to maybe step into collaboration, like the projects that Kelly did. I've had a lot of the elementary teachers reach out to me because they found out that, like, we just covered weather or we just covered the rocks, of course, in more detail than what they do, but they're like, hey, we touch on that. Maybe we could work together. So I'm kind of looking forward to just expanding on creating these projects in collaboration next year.
Right. Does anybody have any other questions for our teachers?
No, the biggest question was just kind of, an
You're on
example
mute, Tammy.
of a project. Am I still muted? Am I still muted? It's not. Can you hear me?
Or isn't she?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say there was a question, just a specific example, but you kind of finished with that. Is there another example of a specific, maybe an app that surprised you that that if you hadn't have gone through a specific training about it, you would have never used it, but it's actually led to, a powerful lesson in your classroom?
Honestly, all of them. I really love freeform, and I find myself using it just as much outside of work as I do at work. We still use Google Classroom, and when my kids turn in any kind of Apple product on Google Classroom, it's really hard to go in and grade it. So I've started using freeform as a turn-in board. I create one board for a specific assignment, and then they're all on there, and it makes it so much easier and saves me so much time and space on my computer because I don't have to download every project. So that's been a big one for me, and that's more personally than my kids. We've used numbers a lot lately. I feel like it's nothing as amazing as what she just told you about, but even just the collaboration that we can do in numbers and in pages and in everything. Like, we're doing whole class projects now where before I would just have two kids working together and my entire class can do something at the same time. We just did a motor skills test with all of our preschoolers, and all of my kids did a different station, but they're all adding the data into one document together and they can see it in real time. And then we can go in and create a table that shows their growth, and it's just kind of amazing and kind of blows my mind that we can do this. But the shocking thing to me is I still get surprised at how little our kids realize that this is amazing. They're so used to it and they're so just, it's everyday life for them, but I'm still new enough that I'm like, holy cow, this is just the greatest thing ever.
Mine would have to be numbers as well. I remember, like, whenever I was in school here, we would use numbers, but it was used for like you might use Microsoft Excel. So like we collected data in it, we created graphs, and that kind of stuff. But I found that with numbers, with the Apple apps, it's so easy for the kids to collaborate. For my workflow, I found it easier if I just duplicate the assignment for groups and then I collaborate with them. That way they're not trying to spend class time trying to email and airdrop and all of that stuff. So I kind of collaborate with them, and then I have that document on my computer so we don't have to go through the whole turn-in thing, which the free form sounds better because I wouldn't have to download all, 17 copies of the same numbers document and try to rename them. But the numbers, like, you can create tabs. So like whenever I use it, I typically use like it for a week-long project. So whenever the kids come in, it's like I have a tab for each day. And on that page that says day one, they have their warm-up, they have their classwork, group work, whatever we're doing. They can write on it if they want, they can type on it, they can upload documents to it. It's just kind of a one catches all. They can do just a little bit of everything with it. And we can keep that one thing, like I said, for a whole week, or maybe I want to turn it into a whole unit and have chapters for each of the tabs. There's just so many opportunities for it. Besides,
I know one
graphing.
of our teachers would share a whole folder between her and each student. And then that folder could be used all year long or all semester long, and any work added in was just there. So that was another little pro tip that might help. Numbers for the win, I hear in the chat. Yes. Swiss Army knife, right? Well, thank you both so much for sharing your experience, and thank you for all that you do for students, and that you're continually learning and evolving as educators. That's excellent.
The other question I have for them is just the relationships they've built with the colleagues that they meet with on a monthly basis. How's that's gone?
So I have found that like just having that sit down time, because for me, so with the second year meetings, we have both the elementary teachers and the middle school, high school that all meet together. And just kind of, it's really cool seeing how one idea can change, like between how I can use it in middle school science versus how our preschool teacher can use it to teach preschool. And with that, it also gives us a chance to like, we have this time where we're already together, we're already working, but we can hear what each other are doing. So like, for example, the preschoolers were learning about animals and habitats, and I'm like, hey, I have a class pet. So it was just kind of that added collaboration where we just get to sit down and have those ideas. So then we kind of work together to do something with the middle schoolers, class pet, and the preschoolers learning about them. So just kind of, we get to talk and see what each other's doing.
Couldn't say it better, but yes, being able to collaborate with anybody else is always the best thing for, I think, all of us. And then just having time to bounce ideas off of each other. And even I only had 2 other high school people in my cohort. So, and one was PE, the other is no longer here. He was a math teacher. But it was even, simple things of, this is how I plan to use that app, could give me an idea of how maybe I could use it. So just the time to sit down with other people who are like-minded and get to work together is great.
And everybody's so busy that like, truly, I think if I didn't have the sit down time to go over this, it would be the thing that got pushed to the side.
Absolutely.
So just kind of the forced learning is really great. Because again, it gives us the time, we're all busy, but it's just kind of this time that's set aside, like, hey, this is what we're doing, and we can do great things with it.
I love the evolution of support, right? Your first year, it's sort of like, let's learn specific things. And then it's like, okay, let's really attach this to critical thinking and some, things we really want students to do at higher levels of SAMR. And then that third year really stretches you as an individual. I just love that progression and that ongoing support, continual support year to year. I think it's really crucial for new teachers. So good job, Knox County.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. We also want to take just a minute before we close out and share our forum find that kind of connects to, you guys shared a lot about ideas and how just getting together really is a lot about generating those new ideas. How do we use these apps? And I think that for teachers that maybe your building doesn't have these types of supports in place yet, like I think that that's growing in the forum, and we'll have Tammy share our forum find for this month.
If you haven't been over to the education.apple.com website. This is worth a trip over into a new tab of your browser. Go to education.apple.com. And in the Learning Center, you've got the Learning Center and the forum. The forum has as a place for educators to get together and share a lot of ideas. And so just if you land on that main forum page and kind of scroll down, obviously there are groups and topics that you can drill into here. But one of the things that's featured currently on the forum are lessons that pop. These are all lesson ideas that use the iPad and the Apple Pencil and allow students to kind of use this idea of pop art in different things. And so there's all kinds of different lessons here that you could go in and try. And if you click on one of these, you'll get in and it'll show you detail about that particular lesson. This one is talking about diving into pollinators and how important they are to our ecosystem and just ways to use that with students. And so if you scroll down, it'll show you how to create this journey, how to even learn how to do that. So if you're not sure how to do that, you can click in and it'll give you some ideas and things to try. So these are just some good resources. And of course, you can always go in and sign in and post things maybe you've tried with your students and share some of those things in the forum. So I definitely recommend you check that out.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's a great place to connect and just hear those new ideas. Our Knox County friends shared that it's really about they're using the same app, but in totally different ways across multiple different subjects and grade levels. And I think that the forum is like where I'm going to get ideas when a teacher asks for something. And even though it's elementary, like how could that apply for high school and vice versa? So there's lots of great things there.
I would also add, sorry, Jennifer, I would also
okay.
add that the Learning Center is a place where if you maybe are new to iPad or new to Mac, there is a section on the Learning Center portion called Foundational Skills, and that you can kind of go in and learn about some of the app specific things within here. So, if you are new to iPad, if you come into the iPad section, there's lots of different things in here. Pages, Keynote, Numbers, iMovie, Clips, those types of things are available. And if you drill down into these, it'll actually show you specific things. So if you want to know how to use numbers with your Apple Pencil and drawing, this will show you how.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I noticed that Clips is new on there. Like I hadn't seen that on there yet.
Oh yeah.
It's constantly an evolving platform. So definitely check out those resources. Thank you for joining us on behalf of our committee. We appreciate you being here and we'll see you next month.